TGIF, and thank goodness we've got a new edition of ESPN FC coming your way right now. I'm Alexis Younes, hanging out with Stevie Nicol and Shaka Hislop, and the Premier League is where we have to start. Just have a look at all of the fixtures on offer this weekend. Sunday, of course, is the big one with Arsenal hosting Manchester City, but Saturdays... Stevie, let me get to it. But Saturday's early kickoff is the ever-entertaining Merseyside derby with a mighty Liverpool hosting Everton. Did you like that one?
It was better, but...
And then Chelsea travel to Manchester United to face Ruben Amorim's side, who desperately needs something to secure the manager's future at United. Well, interestingly enough, speaking about that, this week, Man United owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe held a meeting with Ruben Amorim, and have a listen to what the United manager had to say about it.
Sir Jim Ratcliffe was here yesterday. I mean, obviously, there's a lot going on at the club, but everybody kind of focuses on you. Could you just tell us what you spoke about with him?
New contract. He was offering me a new contract. And no, it's normal things just to show the support, explaining that is a long project. He said many times this is my first season. For me, it's not. But normal things. Spoke with him, with Omar, with Jason, just trying to see all the data around the team. So a normal meeting, and we had several. But in this moment, it's normal. People pay attention to that.
I mean, I understand you will appreciate the support, I'm sure. But you also know you do have to win matches, don't you?
Ah, that is, guys, this is football, and this is the club with more pressure maybe in the world. But we want to win. And again, I think we are. You can say whatever. And I think last year I was a lot of very critical of the way we play. I think we are playing well until the boxes, defending and attacking. We need to be more aggressive in the boxes. We need to be more clinical. The rest, I think we are improving in comparing to last year. I think we are in the better place. But again, we need to win. We lost against Arsenal and we lost against City. And here losing, especially in the beginning after last season, is a problem.
Afternoon, Ruben. You said after the City game that there are a lot of things that have happened in the last few months that we don't know about. Appreciate you might not be able to say everything, but can you give us some context as to the type of things?
No, guys, you know more or less, and you are here for a while, and you have your sources, so you know what I was talking about. But now I'm focused on Chelsea.
Well, Ruben Amorim there, despite all of the pressure on him right now, he's still able to have a laugh in the pre-match presser. Someone who loves a laugh, Frank Leboeuf, he's joining us as well. And someone who hates laughing, Rob Dawson, is also joining us. Rob, I'm just kidding. I knew I was going to get a laugh out of it. Rob knows. We've had many a good laugh. But Rob, let's talk about Manchester United now. You were at this exact presser. And even though Ruben Amorim was able to make some jokes, have a laugh there, you do get the sense that there's a bit more going on behind the scenes. So what more can you tell us about what your sources are probably telling you about what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it was an odd comment that Ruben made after the Manchester derby, that he kind of said there are other things going on that you don't know anything about. And he was just hinting at kind of things that he's had to deal with, that, you know, he's being judged right now by performances on the pitch and results. But what he will tell you is that that's only half the story, in that he's had to come into a very, very difficult situation when he took over from Erik ten Hag in November. He's had to deal with an awful lot over the summer, including having to kind of change or at least try to change the culture in the dressing room, sort of away from the pitch. The likes of Marcus Rashford have had to leave. Alejandro Garnacho has had to leave. So there's all these things that he's had to deal with that has affected his ability to do his job. And he's simply saying that he's being judged right now on performances and results, which is right because he's manager of Man United. But there are other things, or have been other things, that have been going on that he's tried to work through. He's hopeful that he is taking the first sort of small steps forward, and he has seen signs of progress on the pitch. He understands, though, that those signs haven't been fantastic, that it has been slow progress. And ultimately, he said there that he's going to get judged by by results, and they're not there right now, and he needs to start winning matches, particularly against Chelsea at Old Trafford on Saturday.
Frank, when Ruben Amorim was talking there, you were making some interesting faces at his comments. What stood out to you?
Well, I think it was surreal what I heard. I mean, first, I love the question from the journalist saying, yeah, you like the support, but do you really know that you have to win matches? That was surreal. First, they started like that. So I loved it. And then the answer is, yes, I know. Of course, I know. It's what I'm working hard with the team. But you know what? We are good. We are good in the middle of the park. We're not good at front and we're not good at the back. So you're not good where you have to be good. And that's the thing. Yeah, it's good to prepare. It's good to be okay in the middle of the park. But if you can finish action, or you cannot stop actions in the other side of the field, you're in trouble. So that was surreal for me. And I mean, that guy makes me laugh. I mean, there's going to be very big pressure on the two coaches because Amorim has to win. That's for sure. I think otherwise he's going to go through many troubles. But Maresca as well. I mean, after the draw in the Premier League last week and the loss against Bayern Munich, Maresca needs to have a result as well. Maybe a draw would be enough. I think he's not in danger. But the pressure can come up as well because he needs something out of that game. Manchester United is not at their best. So Chelsea can have a chance to win something, and they will have to work hard to make sure that they get the 3 points.
Gentlemen, like I said, Ruben Amorim still able to have a bit of a jovial spirit in this pre-match presser, even though the pressure is on him. People reminding him, look, you have to win games. We know that he's now had this meeting with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, even though he said it was an already planned meeting and it was normal chat as always. Do you feel like this Chelsea game is a make or break one for him?
Well, a 4-0 defeat at home, I would say would have to break him. I mean, the two things from what he was talking about, unless Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to sack him, then the only thing Ratcliffe is going to say is that we're backing him. Mm-hmm. Because he has to. And I think it's interesting that Amorim, although he says we're improving, he never tells you where they're improving. And there's a reason why he doesn't tell you where they're improving. It's because they haven't improved anywhere. Not up the front, not up the back, and not in the middle of the park. So it's all just gobbledygook. You've got to sit in a press conference, you've got to speak, and so you may as well try your best to make it as positive as you can. But the truth is, they're certainly not any better. It's possible they're worse. And, well, we're not buying it. I'm certainly not buying it.
For me, I think what Amorim says there, there's so much that you want to agree with, but then once you start looking a little bit closer, you begin to question. And now let's start with on the park. I don't understand the comment where we're really good except for in the 2 boxes.
Yeah.
That's where the game is decided. Aside from which, we've been very critical of Manchester United's midfield. So are you telling me that Ugarte and Menu and Casemiro is where you've been great this season? I just don't understand. I don't understand what he's getting at with that comment. On the other, I've read reports that saying that he and Sir Jim Ratcliffe have these regularly scheduled meetings with all the other hierarchy at the club, and this was just another one of those, but kind of given how the club has started, it takes on a different feel to it, which is all well and good, and credit if that's how it is. The other thing that I take significant exception, well, that is very true until you really... He's only lost to Arsenal and Manchester United. Now, that's very true, but...
What about Grimsby?
Well, hold on. That's they've only lost to them in the league. That is very true. But to Stevie's point, you've lost to Grimsby in the league. You drew with Fulham. You've drawn with Fulham in the league. Your one league win came courtesy of a 97th minute penalty against Burnley. So while you could sit back and say, we've only lost to Manchester City and Arsenal, and that looks good on the surface, when you look at Manchester United's results, as bad a start as it's been, the worst since 92-93, it could quite easily be worse. He could quite easily be having to answer for a whole lot more. So, which is why I started by saying, you want to agree with him, but if you really look a little bit deeper, it's hard to find sympathy with what Amorim is saying.
Rob, now we know that the problems that Manchester United face are not really Ruben Amorim's problems, but he did have the better part of 10 months so far at Manchester United. And to Shaq and Stevie's point, we're not really seeing any improvement on any area of the pitch. And then you look over at what Thomas Frank is now doing at Spurs in such a little time. It's really hard to kind of buy into what Amorim is saying now.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting today that in Amorim's press conference that he kind of mentioned that Jim Radcliffe has said to him, well, this is your first season. And I suppose technically it is. It's his first full season, but he arrived in November. You're talking about quite a large sample size now. I think it's 31 Premier League games and only 8 wins. And that's just not good enough. Now, there is context to what happened last season. He will tell you that he threw away Premier League games because he was focused on the Europa League. It became their priority. They had to rest players. They had to try and win it as best they could. Now, they ended up playing weakened teams in the Premier League. They lost those games, and that's obviously contributed to this really, really poor record. This season, I mean, I would argue that they are marginally better this season than they were last year. I think if you look at some of the Premier League stats in terms of, XG and total shots and a lot of these attacking metrics, United are up there in terms of their Premier League rivals. The problem is that they just haven't been able to translate that into wins. And again, a lot of United fans will listen to this and go, well, I don't care about XG. I care about actual goals and actual points. And that is completely valid. And what Amorim is hoping for is that eventually he feels that the team have been on the end of the wrong side of fine margins. And he's hoping that eventually that will flip. Now, if that doesn't happen, if it doesn't happen against Chelsea, and then they've got Brentford next, and then it's Sunderland at home, and then you've got an international break, if it hasn't happened by that next international break, there may well be another meeting with Sir Jim Radcliffe that isn't scheduled, and Amorim is told something that he doesn't want to hear, because it's fair enough to back him now, but that backing cannot go on indefinitely. You can't just keep backing someone who's not winning football matches. So eventually, he has to start winning. If he starts winning, it all goes away. If he doesn't, if the results carry on, the pressure will mount, and eventually Sir Jim Radcliffe will be forced into a decision.
But 2 players who have not been involved with their winning are Raheem Sterling and Axel Disasi. They're not even allowed to train with the first team, and Enzo Maresca was asked about that in his pre-match presser. And just listen to what he had to say.
We've heard this week from the PFA you've been checking in on a couple of your players. You spoke last week about the fact that you hadn't even spoken to Raheem Sterling when he hadn't got his move on deadline day. I mean, it wasn't that long ago you were a player. How might you feel?
I've been in Raheem's situation and Axel's situation as a player, and for sure I know that it's not the best feeling for a player, because if you are a player, that means that you want to train and play a game. But then for different reason, the situation is the situation that is in this moment, and I know that the club is giving them the opportunity to work in the right way. It's not just Chelsea, it's any club in the world, I can promise you. Italy, Spain, England, France, USA, Brazil, any club in the world. When for any reason the player and the club doesn't find any solution, you give the player all the tools to do training session and to do everything. But if you are not involved in the squad, you are not involved in the squad. Again, I know that it's something that you like to talk about, but it's not about Chelsea. It's about any club in the world.
I know, but it's about human at the centre of this, isn't it? Like their mental health.
Yeah. My father is 75 years old, and for 50 years he has been fisherman, working for 2 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock in the morning. This is hard in life, not a player the way they work.
Ooh, that is a mic drop moment if I've ever seen one. And just for a little further context, Raheem Sterling earlier this week on Instagram posted a story of him training well after 8:20 p.m. at night at Cobham. Since then, the PFA have held talks with Chelsea just to make sure that their training situations are adhering to FIFA's rules for players in said situations. Frank, let me come to you because you speak so well about player welfare. You spoke so passionately about Nico Jackson and his transfer from Chelsea to Bayern Munich. So what do you make about this situation for Disasi and Sterling, and how Enzo Maresca has spoken about it?
Yeah, first, is right in a way that is every club's. It's not, especially Chelsea, in that situation. And I've known that when I was playing for Marseille, when I saw like 4 or 5 players being in what we used to call the cupboard. You know, so you are there and you are stuck there and you don't even train with the first team. That's abnormal. That's unfair because for Disasi, for example, and Sterling, they signed a contract. So the club at the time wanted them, and now they rejected them where they're still under the contract. It shouldn't be allowed to work that way. It shouldn't be allowed to have for some clubs to have so many players that they have to reject players that they've decided to sign first. So I cannot agree with what Maresca said. And again, it's not only about Chelsea. It's about all the clubs in the world. We have too many players and not capable of getting rid of the others that they don't want anymore and leave them outside. Because that's not, yeah, we are talking about human being, about mental health and wealth, and also the fact that you have a dignity. I mean, we are talking about international players. Raheem Sterling, Alex Disasi, they are international players. So you don't want them, you make sure that you find them a club, or you are forced to allow them to train with the first team. That should be your punishment as a club, because you don't want those players. But you decided to sign them first. They didn't come like randomly. So it's unfair for the players, and I'm gonna be defending the players for my entire life and until my last breath, because really that's unfair.
Frank for PFA president, but Shaka, you're also someone that does relate to this situation too. Do you have any sympathy for the players as well in this situation, or do you see what Maresca's saying?
Well, both in all honesty. But to Frank's point, how do you find a place for a first team player who's not in your plans? If nobody's in Maresca's plans, if those players aren't in Maresca's plans, not just how, but why do you include them in those first team training sessions, unless it's just as a warm body to run around and be an opponent. But you're not going to involve them in your set pieces, defending or attacking, because you're not going to have them available to you on the match day. You're not going to involve them in anything that you are doing in terms of preparing for games if you aren't going to use them for games. So, and then the other thing too is kind of with the growth of the agent in the game, it's less about the club finding places for those players who are surplus requirements. It's about the agents doing their jobs now and getting those players out. But the challenge with these two players in particular, Raheem Sterling's on such a wage that people aren't going to take a chance on him. You saw how things worked or not, as the case may be with the loan spell at Arsenal last season. And for Disasi, he's got 4 years to run on a 6-year contract. And again, this was our concern a few years back when Chelsea were signing players to these ridiculously long contracts. While I guess for accounting purposes it may make sense, you find yourself in a position like this with a player who's got 4 years to run. And you are obligated to pay him for those 4 years. So now, legally, probably what's best for Chelsea to do is go to those two players, say, listen, we'll pay you up. You know, whatever, come to some kind of agreement to terminate their contract. And that way they can go on a free. But other than doing that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the solution is to this.
Stevie?
I actually find Maresca's comments garbage. I mean, why? How dare you bring your dad? Because your dad's a fisherman.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Just because your dad's a fisherman, gets up at 2 and works till 10. What's that got to do with the price of bread?
He's saying
absolutely nothing.
That's a true struggle.
Absolutely. Shut up. I mean, what a lot of nonsense. And by the way, the fact that Maresca turns around and says, I was in a similar situation, that's the very reason you don't do that to those players, because you know how bad it makes them feel.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't want them, if you're not having them in the squad and you want to move them on, that's fine. But you don't have to treat them like 5 and 6-year-olds. Get them training with the U23s when they normally train. And that way you're being professional, and then you're treating them professionally. I mean, they haven't done anything other than the fact that you don't want them. They've not done anything. It's not their fault that you don't want them. It's not their fault that they're on good money, particularly Sterling. So don't treat them like a bit of garbage, because that's what they're doing, making them come in at 8 o'clock at night. That's ridiculous. And honestly, the biggest thing that annoys me the most is the fact that Maresca said it happened to him. If you're any sort of human being, that should tell you, I'm going to make sure that never happens to any of my players ever again. But guess what? He didn't.
Ooh, I've not seen Stevie that fired up since he couldn't
Sure
find
not.
out how to
Honestly.
log on to his laptop
Honestly.
today. Rob Dawson, let me come to you for this one as well, because when you look at it now and when you have two players like this in your books and you're trying to get them off of your books, you try to put them in the shop window at least before January. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon for any of these players, especially Raheem Sterling at Chelsea. So is there a market for them? What would their options be looking like come January?
Yeah, well, there was talk of possibly Raheem Sterling moving to another London club on deadline day, possibly Fulham or Brentford. I think he wants to stay in London to be close to his family, and obviously that didn't materialise. The problem is when you get into sort of the January window, those two lads just won't be anywhere near match fit. You know, what club in January is going to take a punt on two players who haven't been, not only have they not been playing matches at an intense level, they've not even been training properly. I appreciate that Chelsea are sort of saying we're laying on the conditions for them to train properly, but it's one thing running around cones on your own in the corner of a field at 8:30 at night, and completely different thing training with your teammates in an intense first team training session every single day. So it's going to be really, really difficult for those two players to find moves in January. And I've got to agree with Stevie. I find Maresca's comments completely disrespectful, because he's almost saying that, you know, these two players, they're footballers, they earn a lot of money, they don't really know what hard work is. Well, you know, they're still missing out on quite a large portion of their careers. Neither of them grew up dreaming of training on their own in a corner of a field when they could be playing matches. And for Raheem Sterling in particular is reaching an age where, you know, he may never get another move again. It wasn't his fault that Chelsea offered him a long deal that they didn't want to honour. And I feel so sorry for both of those players, because, you know, their careers are stalling, and you know, it could be that they never get a proper move again, and you could be looking at the kind of the end of their careers. I think Maresca's comments are completely wrong, and I think the way they're being treated is wrong as well. I'm completely with the guys in the studio. I think it's outrageous, to be honest.
Yeah, difficult situation for both players. Hopefully they do find a solution soon enough. Frank, let's get to some predictions now. This is what we all say. I've gone for a 1-1 draw. Rob's going for a 1-1 draw. And Shaka, I thought I was really, you know, going for it for that one. But Frank has gone with a Chelsea win, as well as Stevie. Frank, let me start with you. You're definitely backing your Blues.
Yes, I have to. I mean, according to what I saw and what we can see week in, week out, I'm sorry, we're gonna hate, and we're gonna nicely hate each other, Alexi, for the weekend. But your almighty Manchester United is not showing anything that I can think that they can win a game, even at Old Trafford against the Blues. Yeah, it's possible, but I see more possibilities for the Blues to win that game and get the 3 points, because it's what it should be, even if we know that Manchester United is capable of doing anything. But right now, I don't see that. I don't see that coming. I don't see anything in the chemistry whatsoever who can say, ooh, maybe they can get something out of the Blues. Yes, if the Blues don't do that, if the Blue plays well, they're going to win.
All right, well, I think the interesting part about all of these predictions is that everybody has said that Manchester United will score a goal, which is something that they've been struggling to do in a while. Stevie, especially you're picking United to score a goal.
Only because I'm not carried away with that little triangle at the back for Chelsea, the two centre-backs and Sanchez in goal.
Sanchez came up with some good saves this week, though, in the Champions League.
No, he did. But he's also had some howlers. So you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that partnership defensively, the two centre-backs, Tosin and Chalobah, is particularly strong. And so Manchester United have been making, certainly Mbomo has had some opportunities, hasn't always taken them. So that's why I think they might get a goal. However, I just don't see how defensively they're going to stop Chelsea, particularly when they turn the ball over. Because United will try and go forward at Old Trafford. And that's when the problems will start. Because the middle of the park, as we've said, can't stop anybody getting to the back four. Probably Lamins, I would assume, is maybe going to make his debut. You know, he's going to be nervous as a kitten. So, yeah, I can only see a Chelsea win.
I think, Rob, it's been just about 12 years since Chelsea have managed to snatch a victory against Manchester United at Old Trafford. So it still is a little bit of a fortress for them in this fixture. But if Chelsea do what Stevie say and come away with a 3-1 victory, do you think that could be it for Ruben Amorim?
I mean, it certainly wouldn't be great for Amorim. I think that if he was to lose that game, I think if he was to lose heavily, he could be in serious trouble on Monday morning. I don't think necessarily the result of that game will decide anything, though. I think the two more important games for him, if they were to lose against Chelsea, I think the two more important games for him would be Brentford and Sunderland, because with all due respect for both to both of those teams, United should be winning those games. And if they were to lose against Chelsea, and then those two games against Brentford and Sunderland don't go well just before the international break, that would be worrying for Ruben Amorim. The pressure would mount even more than it is now, and he could find himself in serious trouble.
All right, well, for more from Rob Dawson, make sure to check out the latest edition of the Football Reporters podcast, where the boys are definitely discussing, guess what, the future of Ruben Amorim. Rob Dawson, thank you so much for joining us. All right, Stevie, are you ready? Because Liverpool have been the late show so far this season. 6 of their 12 goals so far coming after the 80th minute mark. So, Stevie, is that winner's mentality or cause for concern? How have you been feeling about your boys as they head into what, as you wanted to say, is the big game this weekend, the Merseyside derby?
I think it's a cause for concern, because you cannot rely on scoring late goals to get you out the mess that you've put yourself in. You know, to be 2-0 up against Atletico Madrid, you should have buried them. It should have been 3 or 4, and you don't, and then you let them back in. And then we started the season talking about how defensively they were leaking goals. So, yeah, I think you can only turn around and say, well, that's what champions do. You know, they win late. But when you're doing it 5 games in a row and you've got to leave it that late, that means there's a problem before you get to that particular stage. It's great that you've got the ability that you can do it, but you can't keep relying on it. And eventually that'll run out. So, yeah, he's got a bit of work to do, but listen, it seems strange to be complaining that you're winning every time you step on the field. But the truth is, you can't keep doing that.
I agree. Listen, there's no question to Stevie's phrasing, Arne Slot's got work to do to get this right. But it's great when that work comes when you've won, 4 games, certainly in the league, 4 games on the spin. Without playing well, we admit, and relying on late goals, but it's a lot easier to tinker, to convince players to do different things, to experiment. When you're 100% as Liverpool are, as opposed to if you've won 1 out of that 4 or whatever it may be. So I'm with Stevie on that. It's cause for concern, but if you're on a slot, it's a great place to be in terms of fixing those issues.
Well, Anfield has definitely been a fortress for Liverpool for the Merseyside derbies. If you just have a look at the last 5 results at Anfield, you see that Liverpool absolutely have owned Everton at home. Just the 1 win for the Toffees, and that came back in 2021. So let's get some predictions, shall we? Frank, oh my days. Frank has gone for a 2-2 draw, and the rest of us have gone for a 2-1 win for Liverpool. Frank, explain yourself.
Well, to defend myself, I thought it would be too easy to say that Liverpool can win. And according to what my 2 colleagues have just said, that's not that easy. And it's not like Liverpool is dominating the opponent and dominating the game and having chances to score. And there is no doubt that they are suffering, but they're going to score like at the Fergie times, at the time, when you know that at a certain time they're gonna score a goal. It's not like that. Yes, they score a goal, but they're lucky for me at the moment. They're not dominating their opponents. And Everton, you have to be fair. They're doing good. They're doing good this season. They trouble people. They got, I think, 6 points or 8 points. I don't remember. So they got some points. They're not struggling. It's not the Everton that we have seen lately, who's going to struggle all season long. I think that's a good Everton. And if Liverpool think that's going to be enough, and maybe they can score a goal in the last 10 minutes of the game, they can be surprised. And yeah, it's a Merseyside derby on top of it. You never know what can happen. You can have something different because it's a derby. So it's why I put a 2-2, because I think it's feasible for me, and I'm pretty sure that the Toffees can create problems to Liverpool.
Yeah, no matter how many struggles Everton have, they always seem to rise to a different level in this fixture, Stevie. Does that make you a bit nervous for this one?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. You know, all those victories you showed there, 2-0 is the biggest victory over the last 2001 to 2005. And I don't remember any of those victories being comfortable or easy. I mean, in terms of on paper, those results that we've shown, Liverpool were, on paper, miles ahead of what Everton were doing. On paper, yes, you could say they're miles ahead, but on the field, Everton's got 2 wins, 2 draws. They're really solid. They're organised. This is a better Everton side than they've had in probably at least the last 5 or 6 years. And so, yeah, I'm a little nervous. I do think Liverpool will win, but yeah, you should never underestimate an Everton side in a Merseyside derby.
Oh, well, I can't wait to speak to Stevie Nicol after the Merseyside derby tomorrow. And guess what? This crew was so nice, we're going to give it to you twice. Frank, Stevie, Shaka, and myself, we are back tomorrow to look back at the Merseyside derby, as well as Manchester United against Chelsea on ESPN FC. Make sure to join us. So the Spanish Federation has upheld the 1-game ban, saying, quote, interpretations of the incident were possible. Now, this is a saga that has absolutely just made us go, huh? Shaka, you and I were reading all the updates for this situation, and you were just as confused as I was.
And I think by design it's confusing. I don't understand how you've got a referees committee or whatever it is that make public statements, and they are separate and independent of the disciplinary committee or however it's phrased. So that for me is just, you're just asking for trouble. When you've got 2 bodies like that passing judgment on individual situations without there being any collaboration between the 2 or any recourse for that matter. So for me, I just feel that the issues, while we could debate whether it was a justified red card and therefore a justified suspension, I think the fact that all these committees are somehow involved and making public statements, again, maybe because Real Madrid have pressed them, that has just kind of, to the outside viewer, made things seem so much more confusing.
So this is basically a political thing and not the right thing.
It's weird. So no, to that point, Steve, if one committee comes out and says, listen, we're with the referee on this. You say, okay, the discipline, we could disagree with that committee, but we feel that committee is responsible for everything that's going on and all the communications. But you've got the referees committee coming out and saying, man, I think that should have been a yellow. Yeah. And then you've got the disciplinary committee coming out and saying, you know what, I think they got it right on the pitch. So now, where does that leave the neutral observer? As confused as Real Madrid are, in all honesty. And don't get me wrong, I think Real Madrid at times are just come so far to left field in some of these appeals that you don't want to show them much sympathy. But I'm with them on this. It's just, at the very least, it's confusing. Yeah. And that confusion is not good for anybody.
Frank, can you make any sense of this?
No, of course not, and it's not good for the player because the player will be out for a game, and when you're a young player like Huijsen, and you wanna be on the field. And you deserve to be on the field. That's so completely unfair. It happened to me one day when I was been red-carded in France, but that's even worse. The commission comes after the suspension of the game. So you cannot complain about it because it's an automatic 1-game ban. So, and after they say, no, you shouldn't have been banned. It's too late. The game has gone. So it's absolutely stupid. But that's the kind of same thing. I think Ali Moreno was saying the same, saying like it's like there are 2 offices in the same building and they don't talk to each other. So the referee and the commission and the referee say, oh yeah, we shouldn't get a yellow card, but we won't tell the guys because they don't care about us. And the other guys say, well, you know what, we think it was a straight red card, so we're going to give 1 game ban. That's absolutely stupid, and we have to say it. And I'm with Real Madrid and the player in that matter because that guy should play. It should have only been a yellow card.
Yeah, and Dean Huijsen definitely is not happy either. He went on his Instagram story and said, so they admit the mistake and yet I'm still punished. A good look for Spanish football. That, of course, being very sarcastic. Stevie, you want to chime in or?
No, I think everything the boys have said is right. You know, it doesn't make any sense for both of these committees not to work together. Because if they work together, it would be better for the game of football in Spain. Which, again, in football, sometimes common sense is thrown out the window.
All right, well, something that has become common are big fancy Barcelona wins. They're in action on Sunday in La Liga, but they recently won their Champions League opener against Newcastle despite quite the atmosphere at St. James's Park. And after the game, Anthony Gordon had nothing but praise for their rivals on the night, saying, the way they keep the ball was a learning experience. They were the best I've played against in that sense of the game. To be honest, we are not used to playing against players who can keep the ball in this way. We played against top teams like City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, but the way they passed the ball in midfield made it very hard for us to press. Well, Anthony Gordon wasn't the only one enjoying Barcelona's performance. Paul Scholes posted this on his Instagram, saying that Pedri is now his new favorite footballer. Stevie, that's some high praise.
Yeah, I can see it. And actually, when you watch Pedri playing, 100% reminds you of Paul Scholes. He does every single thing that Paul Scholes does. You know, he always sees everything early, so he never needs to take more than 2 touches. Generally, it's 1 touch. Ball's gone. You can't get close to him because he's just too quick. And then he pops up and scores goals. So, yeah, I mean, Paul Scholes is kind of looking in the mirror and sees Pedri.
Xhaka?
Yeah, I'm with Stevie on this. Listen, I think Pedri at the heart of Barcelona's defence and their successes kind of reminds you of Barcelona at their best, Sergio Busquets, and how important he was. And I know Sergio Busquets isn't the one who's grabbing the headlines every single week, but that team does not function the way it did without a Sergio Busquets. And similarly, this version of Barcelona does not function the way it does without Pedri. Other people may grab the headlines, but it does not function the way without Pedri. So you completely understand it. And from Gordon's perspective, I sympathise. You're on the pitch, and at times when Barcelona are in this form, particularly the form we saw for most of the second half, you really are chasing shadows.
Yeah.
Just when you think you're getting close and you can put pressure on the ball, somebody pops it up, there's a 1-2, and you have no idea where you are in the park again. And that was the way Barcelona controlled the game, particularly in the second half. Now, maybe if Newcastle grabbed an early goal, we're having a different discussion. But they didn't, and Barcelona just took the game by the scruff of the neck. And truth be told, Newcastle did not have a way back into it.
Yeah, Frank, to Xhaka's point, Newcastle did have some chances, but then you just saw Barcelona just really come into their own.
Yeah, it took some time for Barca to dominate the game because of course, of the pressure of St. James's Park, and that was absolutely fantastic to watch because with the fans and the players, the pressure from the Geordies was exactly what we were expecting. But little by little, you felt that Barcelona was coming over and imposed their strength and what they're capable of doing. And after, like, let's say, 30 minutes, you don't see the ball anymore. You run after it, you get crazy, you get out of breath, you can't even talk to each other, you don't know how to compensate, to cover each other. It's getting a nightmare. And talking about Pedri is just doing what is the most difficult things in the world, playing simple. That's what it is. That's what I was taught about football and from the best players. And Michel Platini was saying, you have to know where to give the ball before receiving it. And that's where you are special, because you create anticipation and the others, they cannot cope with that. When other players dribble, it's because most of the time they don't see, so they have to cope with the situation. Pedri dominates the situation. That's what makes him very special. He knows exactly what to do because he knows exactly what goes around him with the opponent, but his teammates. So he has the time for that. And that's the most difficult thing to do.
Stevie, you look at when Liverpool played Newcastle, and that atmosphere, Shaq and I, we were talking about this too, at St. James's Park, just felt like another level last night.
Yeah.
But for Barcelona to go in there, when you saw how Liverpool had their lives made difficult by Newcastle there, and then you just see Barcelona almost just sweep all of that aside and are able to do exactly what they do best.
Well, they did that in the end, but as Frank said, it's kind of how we figured it would be. The Newcastle fans and players, as soon as that whistle went, they would absolutely be getting after it, and they did. And they had a couple of chances where they could have and maybe should have scored. But then, you know, Barcelona physically won the battle eventually. And then once they get their noses ahead, then they start doing the old classic, let's make the ball do the work. We've done the physical side to get ourselves in a position where we're ahead. Now let's just keep the ball. Let's make them do all the work. And that's what they did. You know, you didn't see any Barcelona players running down doing 40 and 50-yard sprints and closing people down and chasing and harrying and sweating and blowing and all kinds of... No, they were absolutely cool and calm, 1 and 2 touch, keep the ball moving, let the ball do the work. That's how you do it.
I'll be honest, when with this tie, coming into this game, a lot of the focus, a lot of the discussion was reminiscing about Barcelona at St. James's Park back in 96 or whatever it was, and the Tino Asprilla hat-trick. I couldn't help but think about PSG coming to St. James's Park a couple of seasons ago, was it 2 or 3 seasons ago, and how that felt. And while it was a very different PSG from the one today, there was an excitement about St. James's Park, there was excitement about the Northeast. The difference on that day is, as I kind of alluded to, Almiron scored after 17 minutes. And that changed everything. It got the Geordies out of their seats and even louder, and it made for a different game. Now, had Newcastle taken one of those earlier chances, again, maybe we're having a very different conversation about the game. But once Rashford scores that header and makes it 1-0, now Newcastle had to lose their shape, had to gamble a whole lot more just to get back into the game. And that's just when Barcelona and Pedri are at their absolute best. Just control everything. You could press us all you want. You could harry. You could make this loud. You could make this emotional. We're quite used to it. We're just going to pass our way out of that emotion. And that's what they did. I think that, again, is the beauty of this version of Barcelona.
Well, Pedri definitely worked his magic, but let's be honest, the night really was about Marcus Rashford. It's his 2 goals that got Barcelona the win. And look at all of these comments for some of his teammates, former teammates, Jadon Sancho, Garnacho, Rasmus Højlund, Bruno Fernandes as well, just loving
There's
the
a bit of a
fact.
thread there, isn't there?
What?
There's a bit of a thread here.
What's it? Manchester United?
Every one of them's a rebel.
Except Bruno.
Except Bruno, he's a captain.
Bruno's
You're
not
right,
exactly.
but you're right.
Bruno's not exactly without any sort of blame for what's going on at United.
Oh boy, but
We have some resentful people, you know, among those people.
But Frank, if you're in a Manchester United shirt or a Manchester United supporter, and you know how desperate they are for goals these days, and you see Marcus Rashford doing this in another shirt, it burns, doesn't it?
So it's understandable that you can be resentful from the fans. The players, when they congratulate him, we know what they think. I'm very surprised about Bruno Fernandes. I mean, the guy is the captain of Manchester United, and he shouldn't have done that. I mean, big mistake from
You got 90% of the sour grapes gang there. That's what you got. 90%.
Just happy for him.
Oh, why?
Jadon Sancho's one of his closest friends.
They couldn't care less who Marcus Rashford was playing for, as long as he scores, so he can rub it in Man United's face.
Oh.
That's what that was all about.
Sure.
Well, Manchester United actually, not Manchester United, Marcus Rashford actually said that he felt that his first goal was technically sweeter than the second one, and that second one was quite nice, at least to my basic eyes.
I'll be honest. I understand why he says that. That header was not an easy header. That was a courtesy drive. I was closer to than Hope was here in the studio. That point was in the studio. So again, I understand what Marcus Rashford is getting at, but as a fan, that second goal just doesn't come much better.
All right.
Are
well,
you
we will
kidding,
see.
Shaka? I've known you. Shaka, I've known you. You would have blocked the ball like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Shaka.
You have stopped the ball and blocked the ball.
If I was in row F,
yeah.
if I was
Yeah.
in row F, I would have had a chance.
Welcome into Extra Time. Let's get straight into it, shall we? Stevie, the first one is for you. Stevie, can Liverpool start wrapping up games inside of an hour?
Instead of 89 minutes will do.
I know.
Well, I'm going to say yes, because they should have done against, particularly, Atletico Madrid. I mean, this game should have been over at half-time.
But Marcos Llorente loves scoring at Anfield.
I can't argue with that. I mean, just proof's in the pudding, isn't it? Every time he goes there, he sticks the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I believe they can.
Yeah, but
They haven't managed it yet, but...
Stevie,
Yep.
Stevie, don't forget that Mo Salah hit the post as well. So it would have been done with the
it should have been
the
done.
ball would have gone in.
Aye. No, it should have been done at half-time, regardless.
Let me just say, so far this year, I'm glad I've not watched any Liverpool games with TV.
Ooh,
As much as they're 100%, I can
no, we're
only
not.
imagine what Stevie's been like.
Merseyside Derby tomorrow is 7:30 a.m. Stevie, should we come over?
No.
Should we come over? I
For
hear
your
you.
own good, for your own good, Alexis,
I was actually driving.
avoid Steve as best you can.
I was actually driving yesterday. I had to go and pick Eleanor, Wednesday. I had to go and pick Eleanor up at the airport. So I had to listen to the game on the radio, right?
Ooh.
So when she got in the car,
You're all angry.
it was 2-1. No, it was 2-1, so I was all right.
Yeah.
You know. And then, so of course, she's been away for 10 days.
So you're trying to give
I
her
had no idea what was going on in the game because she was in my ear.
Ah, okay.
Right?
At 2-2, and I was thinking, I need a holiday.
Yeah, another one. Coming back to the airport.
And then the next minute, the commentator went, "It's a goal, it's 3-2 Liverpool." And I went, hold on a minute. I didn't even know it was 2-2. Never mind 3-2.
Interesting. Because on Extra Time a few shows ago, Janaga Fjortov was on, and someone asked to give our best impression of how Stevie would have reacted when each equalizer went in for Atletico de Madrid. And we were like, oh, Stevie must be going out of his mind. But now you know, he didn't even...
That's
I didn't even know this.
That's best for everybody, especially Eleanor. That's best for everybody.
All right, let's go to the next question, shall we? This one's for Frank. Frank, which team impressed you the most in Champions League this week? Bayern, PSG, or Barca?
Not Bayern. Not Bayern. They deserve to win, but not Bayern. But I have to say Paris Saint-Germain. They were the team. I mean, Atalanta is not the team that we used to know, and Gasperini, having left the team, is different. But still, I mean, the domination, what they've done on the game during the game, offensively, defensively, was absolutely perfect from Paris Saint-Germain. So, but I have to admit that what Barca was capable of doing at Newcastle, even that during the show that we said that as Gordon scored when he had that chance on the Elanga cross, it would have been maybe a different game. But that's something which says a lot about the quality of Barcelona. And I think, for me, Paris Saint-Germain and Barca are the two favorites for the competition.
Wow, interesting, because I was actually watching that game, the Barca-Chelsea game, the Bayern-Chelsea game with Ale Moreno, and he said he was quite impressed by Bayern.
You mean Bayern against the reigning world champions?
Exactly, the fact that they could
Reigning
take
world
down
champions.
the reigning world champions Chelsea, I thought was a bit of a statement.
It was a statement, Alexis, you're right.
So you guys weren't impressed with Bayern?
No, I was impressed.
Yeah.
But the question to the
Impressed with
question.
Elise.
What's the Frank?
Huh? No, but the question
Out
is,
of the
of
three.
which three you're most impressed with?
Yeah, I think
And
Frank got it right.
I agree.
You
That's
agree with Frank?
good.
Right,
Yep.
fine.
Even
I guess-
Mackenzie
I
would
guess Frank-
world Chelsea the world champion.
Voila, voila.
I guess Frank's buying everyone drinks after. Next question now. Oh, with United's mess in goal and all the money wasted on replacements, is it too simplistic to say that they'd have been better off just sticking with Dean Henderson?
No, we should have. No, I'm not a fan of Dean Henderson. He's got an attitude. He's got an attitude about him.
Some would say
that right
confidence.
now.
It's working at Palace.
Well, it's working at Palace, but can you imagine throwing that in the mix at United?
Oof.
So...
Shaka, what do you think? I kind of like Dean Henderson's little swag, I'm not going to lie. Or do you take it as attitude? We see it from Emi Martinez as well.
He's ill in that.
No, but
You can't draw that parallel between Henderson and Emi Martinez.
I mean, Dean Henderson's earned a little bit. FA Cup.
Compare with Emi
Community
Martinez.
Shield.
No.
To compare with Emi
Well, how about we
Martinez.
answer the question? Do you think United would have been just better off sticking
No,
with him?
no,
No?
no.
Okay. Frank, you...
I have a
think
question,
United,
guys.
I'll stand by. I think United.
Just say yes.
Sorry, United should have signed
I have a
Emi
question.
Martinez.
Is Anderson the goalkeeper of Crystal Palace who just tears Liverpool during the Community Shield when they won? And what makes maybe Stevie a little bit upset is that Dean Anderson was showing a lot of personality and confidence even against Liverpool.
Yes.
No.
I think he's a bit
Okay.
salty about that.
No, see, it's interesting you bring that up because he did the same with Pep.
And you didn't like that?
Well, you know what? You know when you win, you shut your mouth and you take the applause. You don't go around going, nah, 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 nah.
You don't like the gloating?
Absolutely not. It's absolutely it's one of the most unprofessional things you can do is gloat. And he's done it twice in a trot.
That's true.
In a short space of time. Don't like that at all. Not at all.
I agree with you there, Stevie. We like humble people.
Exactly.
All right, next question, shall we?
Like Frank.
Like
Like
Frank.
Frank.
Frank is so humble. Frank, you are the most humble. Kevin De Bruyne's return to the Etihad didn't go the way anyone would have wanted it to. Did you ever have a big return that ended oddly? Frank, let's start with you.
When I had a return to Strasbourg after my 5 years at Chelsea, and I came back with Marseille, and I was the captain of Marseille, and it was sad because I've been booed by Lameno by the old stadium. We drew, so that was quite okay, but I was expecting something more. I spent 5.5 years in Strasbourg, and I had a very good time. I know the ending wasn't that perfect because I asked to leave, but I always showed my respect to the Strasbourg region and the Alsace, fantastic region, but I wasn't expecting that. So that was a little bit odd to hear the boos by all the fans. That was odd.
Yeah, Frank's a sensitive person. We love how he feels so much.
Yeah.
Shaka, Stevie, what about you guys?
Do you know, when I went, the first game I ever played back at Anfield was with Sheffield Wednesday. It's probably the most nervous I've ever been. Going back to when I started, even my debut at United as a teenager. But the odd thing about it was we actually got a draw at Anfield. That's the only odd thing I can say about it. We actually got a draw when most people thought we'd get battered.
So I'm trying to think of the times I've gone back. So I actually don't remember going back with West Ham to Portsmouth. I remember going back to Newcastle with West Ham, my first spell. Nothing was overly odd about that. Probably as odd as I can remember. Less about the game, but more about date. Playing for West Ham, we went back to Reading in the Carabao Cup, or what is now the Carabao Cup. September 11th, 2001.
Oh.
September 11th, 2001. So it's less about the game than about what happened. Yeah, so that was odd.
Wow.
That was odd.
All right, bit of a somber note there from Mr. Shaka.
Well, you asked.
Well, technically, Stevie Nichol's personal assistant asked.
Well, let's blame Stevie Nichol's personal assistant.
Yeah, I'll have a word with him.
By the way, we need Stevie Nichol's personal assistant to help him with his expenses today, please.
Please, because
God.
recruiting both Shaka and myself to
Oh, boy.
help
I have no idea what was going on.
I'm 4 weeks away from losing my card.
Oh, boy.
You needed help doing expense. You needed help just logging in.
Thanks. Thanks for that.
Oh, boy.
Unfortunately, you're not wrong.
No, it's okay. I just couldn't help you with the password. Did you call somebody for your password?
I did, yeah.
Boy.
You know, you should for the password you should have tried either Liverpool or Anfield Road.
I've tried them all. I've had them all,
good.
Frankie.
He tried them all. He asked me, he brought me to the keyboard and said, hang on, is that an exclamation mark? And I was like, yes. And he's like,
I imagine.
Oh my God.
No, that's not what I said to you.
what was it?
It's important you get it right.
Okay.
I didn't say, is that? And my tone was different.
Yes, it was.
Because I thought the reason I couldn't get logged in is because I didn't use the exclamation mark.
Oh, okay.
And so when I said to you, I said, come here a minute. And I pointed to it because I'd used it. I went, right, that is the exclamation mark, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I was starting to think I'd lost my mind.
Slightly.
Well,
As was Alexis.
that's what I said to you. And I was 100% certain, but I'm like, I'm starting to lose my marbles.
Needed a second opinion.
Correct. So that's why I said,
Who did you call for your password? Your
My son.
personal assistant. Oh, your son knows all your passwords.
yeah.
Oh, love that. That's another way. That's another reason to have children.
Yeah, there you
All
go.
right, final question now, and it's for Stevie. Stevie, as a Liverpool fan, who would you prefer to win this Sunday, Arsenal or City? And you can't say a draw.
Probably City.
Oh,
Well, because you can't, right now you
Never.
can't rely on City.
yeah.
You know, I mean, Arsenal, really strong, really organised. You know, Gyökeres is so far looked like a proper centre forward. They're not giving much away. I mean, they're kind of going to be on a level the whole season. Whereas City right now, I'm not sure whether we're going to get that or that from City. So I'm not relying on City for the length of the Premier League season. So if I've got to choose a winner, I hope City win.
All right, that's fair enough. And guess what? We'll be talking a lot more about that game, previewing it on tomorrow's ESPN FC show. This exact crew is going to be back here. Plenty to talk about, so make sure to join us.